old man, a pastor, preacher, a grandfather. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will dream dreams. Your old men will have visions. Doesn't the Word of God say that? Old Testament and New Testament. So here's this little boy, a child, a son, a grandson, who's prophesying, if you will. Papa, it was the rapture. Okay? I'm an old man. I'm having a vision/dream of something that matches exactly what he has. So we're just in the family. That's all we've told. Then, about 5 or 6 years later, we're just getting on with life. I'm preaching. I'm doing conferences. My son comes with me. He's a grown man. You've probably seen him or met him. We are at a prophecy conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's in the spring. It has snowed that spring. Snows all over the ground. The people in Minnesota are mad about it. I'm loving it. Having a great time. Conference center packed out. It's a big church, and so it's packed out. It probably held 1,000 people, and it was packed. Foyer's huge. They have our table set up for the speakers at the foyer. So I had just finished preaching, and I'm out in the foyer, and because I had just finished, people flocked around my table. Not that I'm such a great speaker, it's just I had just finished. So as I come out, I go to my table, had written a couple books, and there they are. Boom, they're just piled in. My son's standing over to my left. Just like at my book table, I don't sell books, but I'm there to talk to people, minister to people, pray with them, maybe sign them if they want their book signed. But my son he's handling all the money and the credit cards and everything and answering people's questions about the books. So that's going on at the table. Crowd of people right at the front are talking to me. Hey, can you sign this? And what's this book about? And, so we're having those conversations. And I'm looking over the crowd. I'm tall like you are, not as tall as you are, but I'm tall, and so I can see right over the crowd. And I see this young woman making her way through the back of the crowd, kind of snaking her way through, kind of sweetly pushing people aside, trying to get up front. And I'm thinking, bless her heart, she wants to come up here bad, but I'm thinking somebody's going to slap her because, everybody's trying to get to me. She's just breaking ahead. And I'm thinking, there's always one in every crowd, right? And so I'm thinking that about her, bless her heart. And I see when she gets closer, she's crying. Not boo-hooing yet, but just tears, and her eyes are swelled. And I said, oh, bless her heart. She's got some heart issues here. She's wanting to talk to the preacher, Well, she got almost down to the front line. She was standing a couple of rows back and looking at me, just kind of looking at me like she wanted to engage me. And then I saw her just kind of get discouraged, and she turned and walked back through. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I wanted so bad to say, wait a minute, but I couldn't because I'm signing books and people were talking. But I'm watching all of this. And she goes out. I watch her go out the foyer to the big front doors of the church, and she goes out. And I said, well, I'll never see her again. I said, Lord, I don't have a clue what that was about. And Brandon said something about, did you see that girl that last? Yeah, I saw it. I said, I don't know what that was about. And he said, yeah, I don't either. So we're going on. Well, anyway, after a while, the crowd's thinning a little bit. But about 15 minutes later, I'm just still looking over the crowd, talking to people. The door's open. I'm seeing people come and go. I see her again. And she comes in, and she starts kind of making her way through the crowd again, but it's much less now, so it's a lot easier. And I'm thinking, all right, now this time, I'm going to talk to her. Because obviously something's on her mind. She finally gets up. She comes and stands on the side of the table, and I'm signing my last book here. She's, Pastor, can I talk to you? And she's still got swollen eyes and tears. She's wiping tears off her cheek. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, what's your name? She said, my name's Veronica. And I said, well, what's on your heart? I took her hand and said, what's on your heart? I said, something's bothering you. And Brandon's still kind of, he's putting the money in. He's stacking the books up, but he's keeping his eye on old Pops over here, She says, while you were preaching, God spoke to me. And she says, God, I've never heard the voice of God before. And she says, I didn't hear it in my ears, but I heard it in here. And she said, he told me that I had to talk to you, that you had the answer for me, that you would know the answer to my question. Well, I had no clue where she was going, and so I wanted to be humble about it. Like, I don't know everything, but if God told you, maybe I will know. And she says, it's about a dream I had, and God told me that you could interpret it. Now, remember, this has been years since I had the dream to talk to my sons. I'm not even thinking about that. It's been years, 5 or 6, 7 years. And all I'm hearing is, I need you to interpret a dream. Well, I know that that's done, and I know God can give people that gift, and I know it's in the Bible. But I've never advertised or considered myself to be an interpreter of dreams. I don't even know my own dreams, most times. Now, the rapture dream is the one dream in my life I understand that. But I've had other things where I've had to just say, I ate something bad tonight. That's all I can think. I mean, it seems like it might be spiritual, but I just can't figure that out. So I just forget about it. Well, she says, I want you to interpret this dream. God told me you can interpret it. And I'm thinking, all right, either she didn't hear from God, or God's getting ready to give me a gift to interpret this girl's dream. So I'm ready. I said, well, just tell me and I'll tell you. I said, now I'm not going to try to pretend like I know something. If I don't have a clue, I will tell you. And I hope it doesn't hurt your feelings. But I said, I don't jerk people's chains on that. If I don't know what it is, she says, okay. She said, I was standing in a field. When she said those words, I didn't know where she was going to go. But my son grabbed my jacket and just kind of like, Dad, listen to this now. She says, and I was looking up in the sky. And I was looking at the stars. When she said that, I mean, I'm about to break down. And I'm looking at her, and and then she starts describing the whole scenario. I hear the people behind me. I hear children. She said, I wasn't allowed to look. And she said, then the stars started moving. Now, my son Brandon, who's the father of my grandson, who knows all of that, he just says, he grabs my arm again. He says, oh my gosh, Dad. And Veronica stops and says, do you know what this is about? And Brandon said something like, he's had the same dream. And she goes, what? And I said, yes. Finish what you're saying. And she said, well, I'm almost finished. She says, so the stars come and they fall out of the sky. And then she says, and I just screamed and I got on the ground and covered my head in the star. And then I woke up. And she says, what was that? She says, it was so real. This happened to me months ago. And she said, I told my husband, and we came to this conference. She said, I would need an answer to this. She said, it was so real. I can't get it out of my mind. And she says, you're telling me you had the same dream? I said, exactly. Except my dream went further and I know what it is. And she goes, oh my gosh, God did speak to me. You know, I said, Veronica, I know what the answer is to this dream. And I said, now this is 1,000 people in Minneapolis. I'm from Florida. And she describes my dream and my grandson's dream. And I saw her come and go, and I asked her, I said, why'd you leave? She said, well, I got scared. And then I couldn't get to you. And my husband and my children, she said, I've got little children, they're out in the car. She said, I went out there and just bawled. And my husband said, you must go back in. You must talk to him. God told you to. So she said, I finally got up the courage and came back. And she said, I'm so glad. So she says, what's the dream? And I said, it was the rapture. And I said, apparently, I need to talk to you about your relationship with the Lord, because apparently you were getting ready to miss it. And she starts crying. She said, I've just given my life to the Lord recently. And she says, yes, I agree. She says, and I need to come back to the Lord. She said, I've been so far from the Lord. And she says, and that's all I can think is that God's trying to tell me something bad is getting ready to happen if I don't get right with him. And she said, I feel like I need to be in ministry. She said, I don't mean preaching or teaching. She said, I just need to be investing my life somehow in the gospel ministry. And she says, and I said, well, let me tell you what happens after the stars fall. I said, those are not stars, those are angelic beings. And it was the rapture. And we do go up and we bust through dimensions and barriers, like, and I said, and then the next thing you know, you're in paradise. And she said, oh my gosh. And I said, let me tell you, I can't even describe to you what it smells like, what it looks like, what it sounds like. And she says, I knew it was probably had something to do with the rapture. And I said, well, yes. I said, that's all I can tell you. That's all I know. But I said, my grandson has had this exact same dream. I've had it. My wife, his grandmother, witnessed him telling it to her. Years went by. He tells it to me. I tell it to his mom and dad. We all go over it together, talk about it. And now more years have gone by. You come to me from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you're standing here telling me the same dream and that God told you I knew what it was. I said, so this is not a coincidence. This is not bad pizza. This is God speaking. And then she said, well, I'm not really from Minneapolis. She says, I come from Peru. And I said, Peru? This is what makes the story even more fantastic. I said, me and my church have been involved in Peru for 17 years at that point in huge mission work. And we've got a school for children that can't go to school, and we finance the whole thing. We go down there, we do crusades, we take clothing, and back then they really needed it. We're in a very poor area. Take clothing and medicine. We take medical missionaries. And so we're very attached to the people. I said, I've watched little 3 and 4 year olds grow up into young men and women, and they graduate from our school. Some of them get scholarships to college, and families are saved. We get them in a church there. And I said, so I'm very attached to Peru. This is amazing, Veronica. I said, where are you from? She says, well, it's a place you probably never heard of. It's Comas, Lima, Peru. I said, that's where our school is. Our school is in Comas. She said, what? I said, it's called the Jack Goldfarb Christian School, named after an associate pastor of mine that's passed away, who was from Peru. And she says, I just live a few blocks down the street from there. I know people that work there. I said, this is getting freakier by the moment. You know, so we had a conversation. We loved on each other and prayed. And I asked her, I said, can I tell this story? Can I use your name? She says, yes, Pastor, please feel free. Maybe that's a part of how I can be used for God's kingdom. So I've shared it with my church privately several times. I say privately, I mean, not on TV or radio or at a conference, just at my church. And every time I do, they're blown away by it. And then I have people come up to me just privately and say, I didn't have a dream like that, but I had a rapture dream too, and I can't get it out of my mind. So even at this conference, I've had probably 20 people, and there's hundreds of people here, but I had about 20 people come to my table over the past couple of days saying, I didn't have that dream, but I had something very similar where I was caught up. And thank you for sharing that, because now I know I'm not going crazy. See, there's no telling what God's speaking to people, his people, but people don't know how to share it with an unbelieving world. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. No, that's my story. It's witnessed. You know, that's once Veronica told me that, then I knew. It was like the Lord was trying to get me to share it before, I think. But when Veronica came, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, totally unconnected to me, my son is standing right there witnessing it. Then she tells me she's from Comas. Then I knew. I mean, God is just saying, would you please share what I gave you? So here at the conference, first time I've shared it. I know some people watching this will still not believe it, and I mean, I can't help it. I can't care about that, whether they believe it or not. I know what happened. I know what my grandson told me. I know what Veronica told me. Every one of those were witnessed by people. So what does this mean? I don't set dates. I don't think that dream necessarily meant it was going to happen in my lifetime necessarily. Feels like it did, but I could be proven wrong on that. I think God's just getting his church ready. I think I'm a preacher, so I'm somebody that would share it, and now I have. Now it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to go to the world. So I think all over the world, God is just getting his people ready to understand that time is getting short. Get right with Jesus Christ. If you are not right with the Lord, get right with him. People might be watching, how do I get right with him? Very quickly, Romans 10:9. If you would confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. Romans 10:13, and whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord like this shall be saved. Today can be the day of your salvation. Confess with your mouth, Jesus Christ is Lord. I repent of my sin. You were raised from the dead. You died on Calvary's cross for me. Please save me. And all who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. This is Pastor Carl Gallups, and that is my story. It really happened.